Hey everybody, welcome to the Breakdown. This is a series in which I, Nathan of the Media Hole, am going to break down a compiled story for one of my friends. I'm joined today by Ian of also the Media Hole podcast.
Hello. I'm here to ask questions if something doesn't make sense.
And make jokes, because this is a comedy video for YouTube. All right, this episode, The New Mutants. Or New Mutants. I forget if the is in the title.
I thought the story the series was called New the Mutants.
New the Mutants, of course. This story starts far in the past, in the mystical year of 2015.
What a year.
Obama was still president. Nobody knew about the coronavirus. Resident Evil Revelations 2 was coming out. And Minions just became the first non-Disney owned animated film to pass $1 billion at the box office. 20th Century Fox announced that writer-director Josh Boone would be helming a film based off of the 1980s New Mutants comic series. The New Mutants were basically the Teen Titans to the X-Men's Justice League. This was a great move on Fox's part, as Josh Boone had just previously directed The Fault in Our Stars for Fox to critical and commercial success, and the X-Men line was doing very well after the successes of First Class and Days of Future Past. By October, the first draft was finished, described as a young adult X-Men movie. Now, if you're a comic book guy going, ugh, Fault in Our Stars, lame,
how did you read my thoughts?
know that Josh Boone is a huge fan of the comics, and he pitched the movie by photoshopping the original comic into a collection telling the story of a trilogy of New Mutants films. It's a really cool pitch, similar to how Rian Johnson pitched Looper, which if you haven't seen that, Google it. It's a cool little YouTube video that he cut together of other movies. Also, Fault in Our Stars, it's a well-made movie, and the story
it's just based off of a guy on Tumblr that everyone used to bully.
I mean, whatever, it's fine. I wonder if you can make an entire Shakespeare play out of all of the things that are named after lines from Shakespeare plays.
Maybe.
But at this point, Fox Marvel gets scared. Fantastic Four fucking bombs at the box office, both critically and commercially.
Because it's bad.
That movie's dog shit, and that movie's dog shit for a number of reasons, but that's its own episode of this show, maybe.
Well, because they keep fucking pumping out bad movies because they want to keep the IP. Why keep the IP if it's not generating you revenue and you're just sinking money?
But they thought this Fantastic Four would make money because they were fresh off of X-Men movies that made a ton of money. So after this, in February 2016 now, Deadpool, a movie that they thought was going to be terrible and underperform, which they slashed the budget multiple times, it becomes the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, only to be surpassed by its sequel and 2019's Trash Fire Joker. A few months later, X-Men Apocalypse would underperform, and Fox would rush an R-rated Wolverine movie into production, greenlight a Deadpool sequel, and an X-Force movie featuring Deadpool.
Are you talking about Logan?
Yeah.
Logan? Well, I guess that one worked out, because that movie's sick.
Yeah.
But then they were like, I guess...
No, because of the success of Deadpool and the failure of their other shit, that's why Logan got made.
Okay, so they thought an R-rated X-Men movie would save their shit.
Yeah, they rushed Deadpool sequels and stuff because they were like, okay, this is what people want, not more X-Men shit. Okay, let's rush that out. Around this time, Boone and his writing team would announce the completion of a second draft of the script and announce which characters would be in the film. So things are happening at Fox where, in the background here, where it's like, shit's on fire, we need to change directions.
Homie, shit be bad, please. Sell us to Disney right now.
And at that time, they're still writing this movie. And so think that everything is on fire at Fox Marvel right now.
Yeah.
Producer Simon Kinberg said in an interview that the movie would be very comic accurate and that Professor X would appear in the movie along with Storm. Spoilers, I guess? I don't know.
Did Storm show up? Oh, in X-Force.
Yeah, no, in New Mutants.
New Mutants, fuck.
Yeah. Now, Simon Kinberg is his own can of worms to unpack, but to make a long story short, Kinberg came into the film industry as a screenwriter who makes sort of crappy scripts, but he's actually a somewhat decent producer, maybe, and he produced all the Fox Marvel films post-2011, but he'd first gotten attached to the series by screenwriting X-Men 3: The Last Stand in 2006. So he's a somewhat good producer because he has gotten movies made, but he really wants to be a writer-director, and he is not good at that, and he is maybe a dickhead. He seems like it, at least.
He might be a dickhead because of his shortcomings in life.
Yeah, it was set for New Mutants to go to production at the beginning of 2017 at this point.
Cool.
So it's somewhat unclear at what point horror elements enter the script for New Mutants. It's possible that they were there in the first draft, or maybe they were added in the second, or maybe there were two versions being written side by side and the studio chose one that they liked more. Whatever is true, production on this horror-tinged, YA-themed, mid-budget PG-13 X-Men spin-off started in April of 2017, with the film slated to be released a year later in April of 2018. Production was headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. So already they said beginning of 2017 was when it was going to start shooting, and it didn't, when it was going to enter production, and it didn't enter production until April. So that's already running like a couple months late, maybe.
Yeah.
But then you're going to hear something interesting. So maybe they didn't start production then, more like post-pre-production, because there was still some weird shit up in the air. A lot of casting changed, potentially due to the delay, and suddenly Professor X and Storm maybe aren't in the movie at all anymore. And Simon Kinberg may not have produced the movie because he's not the only producer credit anymore, and he's currently the writer, director, and producer of X-Men Dark Phoenix, which is
the worst,
being worked on at the same time. Also, it sucks.
I did not watch that one, and I have zero desire to. Is Dark Phoenix even like a well-regarded comic book storyline?
It is, but they already fucked up a Dark Phoenix movie once.
Yeah, the fucking end of...
The Last Stand.
Yeah, Last Stand is god-awful.
Which was written by the guy who wrote and directed Dark Phoenix.
Wow, it's almost as if they literally just let this man make the same mistake twice. And he was like, I'm just going to make the same movie again because I thought it was perfect.
No, he was like, the last time was shitty. I'm going to make it good this time. And it wasn't any better. It was worse. Also, Simon Kinberg, he also wrote and directed all the reshoots for Fantastic Four because him and the director of that movie got in, like, I think an actual fist fight on set. And then the director got kicked off the movie.
Sick.
Yep.
Maybe the Simon Kinberg just goes around and creates all these issues, and he's like literally that kid who picks fights in elementary school and then goes, "He started it."
Yeah, basically, he's like Kevin Feige for the X-Men universe, except on heroin. So at this point, we're in Boston. We have locations scouted, and many characters are recast and rewritten. Boone had said in an interview that the movie was a quote-unquote full horror film akin to The Shining, and that'd be very different from other X-Men movies.
Yeah.
But that's not what Fox wanted, nor is it what they had been saying. And they hired a 6-person writing team to work with Boone to, quote, tear apart the script and put it back together, end quote, to tone down the excessive blood and scares and go for a young adult vibe.
Oh my god. Just rewrite the movie.
Yeah.
It's not this isn't like a fixer-up house. Or this is like a house that's been like fucked around with by a bunch of amateur house flippers like for way too long. Then they call in the property bros and they're just like, "Are you fucking kidding me with this shit? This is not workable. Bulldoze it, restart."
Imagine. You are Josh Boone. You're in Boston. You're like, I'm going to shoot my movie. And then they send 6 people to change your script with you.
Yeah.
To be like, no, hold on. We hired you to make The Fault in Our X-Men stars. Not X-Men spooky.
Yeah.
So this is based on what I know. And it could have potentially happened before shooting. But it seems to me that the rewriting of this shooting script is what delayed the actual production so much. Regardless, principal photography began July 10th, 2 months after production got to set. On set, Boone said in an interview that Professor X and Storm were cut from the films as one of the changes to the shooting script was to set it in the modern day instead of the 80s. He admitted that this was changed due to the failure of X-Men Apocalypse and that they were removed to break the connection.
Storm still exists in the modern day.
Yeah, but they were going to do X-Men Apocalypse, tie-in Storm, and, that type of thing.
Oh, young Storm instead of Halle Berry.
Yeah, James McAvoy and the girl who plays Storm with the mohawk.
Yeah. As opposed to Patrick Stewart and Halle Berry.
Yeah. Filming would end on September 17th. Boone described the process as extremely stressful and felt neutered due to all the changes to his original idea.
Sounds like something that would just kill your creativity and probably make you go, I'm not doing this anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He is a trooper though, and you'll see how. Boone and the editor create a cut of the movie that Fox is happy with and that tests as well with audiences as Deadpool did. And they were all set to do 3 extra days of reshoots to get the extra coverage to make the film that Fox wanted, which, let's just go on a tangent here because this is something I've heard you talk about. Reshoots are common for big budget films and don't suggest the quality of that film. Days of Future Past, for example, had reshoots to add in the character of Quicksilver, and he quickly became a fan favorite.
Because he runs fast.
The phrase you want to look out for is extensive reshoots, and you want to look to see if the director came back to do those reshoots and the rewrites to go with them. Because the problem with movies like Rogue One, Justice League, and Fantastic Four 2015 happen when you kick the director out.
Yeah, kick the director out, release the Snyder Cut.
Release the Trank cut.
The Trank?
Josh Trank was the writer-director of Fantastic Four 2015, and then he got in a fight with Simon Kinberg, who was the producer, and then Kinberg kicked him off the set and did a bunch of reshoots and wrote and directed those reshoots himself.
Okay.
That's its own video. But before those reshoots could be scheduled, some important shit happened. So the adaptation of Stephen King's It came out and made $700 million at the box office. And it became the 3rd highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. It is now the 5th highest grossing R-rated movie of all time.
What's the first?
Joker, currently.
What's the second?
Second is Deadpool 2.
All right, what's the fourth?
The fourth, Matrix 3.
Really? Matrix 3.
But at the time, it was Deadpool, Matrix, It.
Okay.
On top of that, it was a horror movie set in the 80s with a teenage cast featuring magical bullshit. Fox basically realized that there was a massive market for the kind of movie that Josh Boone had wanted to make all along. And so Fox quickly hired a company to cut a trailer for New Mutants with all of the horror moments of the entire movie in it, basically to trick the public into thinking it is a full horror film. The trailer came out on October 13th, 2017, and sits with over 11.5 million views and 83,000 likes, and features a clearly chopped up line of someone saying,
"This isn't a hospital. It's a haunted house."
What the fuck? It sounds bad.
The trailer ends confidently with an April 13th release date. It would not come out on April 13th, 2018. It would not come out on April 13th, 2019. It would not come out April 13th, 2020.
Here's looking at you, 2021.
In January of 2018, the release date gets pushed back to February of 2019 so that it wouldn't be in the way of Deadpool 2, as both films would have been in theaters at the same time. Fox also claimed that this was to give the VFX people more time to finish their work on the film and to do some extensive reshoots on the movie. But don't tell people that. These reshoots were meant to make the film more frightening and more like the trailer and the original scripts. And Josh Boone was actually really happy with that. And he was still in charge with writing and directing those reshoots. 2 months later, in March 2018, the reshoots were still in the planning phase, and the movie was delayed again to August 2nd, 2019. This was to avoid Dark Phoenix's release date, which had been moved up to February from May so that it would avoid Avengers Endgame. Because even Fox knew. So, those reshoots for New Mutants were meant to happen in September of 2018, an entire year after principal photography was finished on the main movie. However, in late March 2019, actress Maisie Williams, who plays Rain Sinclair, aka Wolfsbane, in the film, stated in an interview that the reshoots had not yet been done, and that she doesn't know what the fuck is going on with the movie. So here is what the fuck was going on with the movie. In March of 2019, Disney purchased 20th Century Fox. This was not a surprise for anybody. And there are many articles about Fox waiting for the buyout so that Disney would have to pay for whatever dumb bullshit was going on. Disney said that after the acquisition, that the reshoots were not planned so far, and in May they delayed the film yet again to April 3rd of 2020. In August of 2019, an internal Disney memo stated that they were unimpressed with the film and didn't see box office success in it, although that was about the first cut of the movie. On January 6, 2020, a second trailer for New Mutants was released, but this trailer has fewer views, sitting at 7 million, but over 140,000 likes. This trailer features spookiness,
Spookums.
but also shows off significantly more action. Now, some, quote, additional work was done on the movie, with Josh Boone saying that the movie was true to his original vision. Many took this as him saying that the reshoots had been done. The reshoots had not been done. And in March of 2020, Boone had said in an interview, and here's a direct quote, "Everybody said we did reshoots. We've never done reshoots. And I'll tell you this, if there hadn't been a merger, I'm sure we would have done reshoots, the same way every movie does pickups. We didn't even do that because by the time the merger was done and everything was settled, everybody's older."
Oh, it was like the actors actually aged out of like their characters?
A little bit. It's now been 3 years.
How old were the actors?
I mean, they were all late teens, early 20s.
So one of those guys might just have too much of a beardy face now.
Yeah. So what has changed from the original cut? Well, there's been a full re-edit that's supposedly closer to the original tone, and the VFX has been redone with Disney's resources. The movie remains PG-13, despite rumors that the reshoots would have made it R-rated. When asked about the quality of the movie, Boone replied, and this is a quote, "Look, you can only go up after Dark Phoenix."
Get fucked.
And so that's it. That's the whole story. And on April 3rd, 2020, we all saw the movie and we all thought it was very good. Oh yeah, I'm just getting a notification on my phone. Hold on. Apparently, as one last punch to the balls, due to the 2020 coronavirus outbreak, New Mutants was delayed indefinitely, with Disney announcing that they were looking for a release date later in 2020, but no promises. Now, if you feel bad for Josh Boone, which I think we all kind of do,
Yeah.
he's been a real trooper. He stuck with this thing for 3 years. He never threw it out. He never quit. He went with the punches, and that's extremely respectable. So later this year, Josh Boone does have a television adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand coming out, and he's extremely happy with it. And you should probably watch that if you feel bad for him about this ridiculous story. Because the story of New Mutants is kind of unprecedented. There's never been a movie that got this fucked up this publicly.
Yeah, and there's so much money just sitting there. Like, there's money on the table, and no one's picking it up.
So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like it. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a subscribe, give us a follow. Links are all in the description. And enjoy. I don't know how to end videos or podcasts, I've found.
Come back in like a month if we figure out how to do another one of these.
Hell yeah.
That's all.
Peace.